You ever come home to find a pack of strangers in your barn, measuring the floor like they're casing a bank? I did. And by the end of it, the folks who tried to raid my property ended up facing criminal charges, public humiliation, and a parking lot-sized heap of regret. Let me tell you how that went down, and you decide for yourself who was really out of line here.
Now I know you're thinking,
Barns, suburbs, and HOA drama, how wild can it get? Well, let me paint the scene for you. There's this road that winds past my acreage, blacktop stretching lazy as a summer afternoon. My old barn sits just off the shoulder, a big, stubborn chunk of family history. My great-granddad built it before any of these subdivisions were even a twinkle in some developer's eye. Locals call it the Red Chapel, 'cause when the sun hits it right, the cedar lights up like stained glass in a country church. Over the years, that barn's seen more love and life than half the houses put together. Cookouts, charity dances, neighbors renewing their vows under the rafters. To me, it's home. To the folks who moved in across the creek a few years back, well, it was just unused potential. These new neighbors, they came armed with matching polo shirts, color-coordinated landscaping rocks, and an almost religious devotion to the rules. Their little slice of suburbia called itself Sycamore Bluffs Community Council. Notice, not Homeowners Association, 'cause council sounded friendlier, apparently. I joked it was just window dressing. Truth is, they were HOA to the bone, except their HOA didn't include my land. At least, it wasn't supposed to. All that changed one humid Thursday when three of them showed up on my porch, clipboards in hand. Tallest guy, Alder, introduced himself as the council chairman. He did his best customer service smile and slid a glossy pamphlet across my table, like I was about to buy a timeshare. "We'd like to use your barn for community event parking," he said. "Overflow, security cameras, stripes on the asphalt, the whole 9 yards. I told him, as polite as I could muster, the barn wasn't for rent, lease, or barter. If they wanted tickets to the next charity dance, well, September's wide open. That didn't go over great. 2 weeks later, I find a big plastic sign staked by my driveway. Temporary parking zoning review in progress. Pastel leaf logo and all. I yanked it out, dropped it off at their fancy fountain, and sent certified letters to every office that mattered. The HOA, the zoning board, even the county clerk, reminding them my land's been here longer than their bylaws. For a month, I heard nothing. I figured that was the end of it. I could not have been more wrong. It was a Monday, windy and restless when my phone buzzed. My neighbor Martha, God bless her, she's got a sixth sense for trouble, called, voice shaking. "There are trucks at your barn." By the time I got home, the gravel lot looked like a crime scene. Pickup trucks plastered with that pastel leaf, caution tape, cones, and some rental equipment. Inside, 3 guys were measuring and chalking up my barn floor like it was their own. My heart was pounding so loud I swear you could hear it in the rafters. I marched right in, demanded to see their work order. All they had was a printout, HHA Property Improvement Directive, across the top. That's not a legal document. I folded it, told them to leave. One of them had the nerve to warn me about fees if I resisted. They left, eventually. That night, I padlocked the barn so tight you'd need a Navy SEAL to get in. Installed motion sensors, too, because my gut was crawling. Next morning, I checked the footage. Sure enough, two figures creeping around at midnight, testing the new lock. One of them was Alder himself, sneakers glowing in the flashlight. I sent the video to Sheriff Dorsey, who's an old friend. He shook his head, filled out a report, but there wasn't enough to arrest anybody on video alone. Then came the hammer, a certified envelope, thick with fines, $13,750, plus a threat to seize my property if I didn't pay up. Their logic: obstructing community development. Never mind that I'm not in their HOA. But that's the thing about these folks. They figure if they act like they're in charge, everyone else will just fall in line. Instead, I got to work. County documents, zoning petitions, I dug up every scrap of paper. Turns out, the HOA had filed to expand across the creek, but nothing was approved. Pending review is legalese for not a chance. At their next board meeting, public by charter, I showed up with a camcorder and a clipboard, read their own rules out loud. When they tried to shut me up for not paying dues, I reminded them I wasn't a member, never would be. And then, here's the twist, they started talking about buying my barn by eminent domain. Only government agencies can do that, not a nonprofit HOA. I dug deeper. Turns out, the company they'd hired for development consulting was Alder's own LLC. I brought that up in the meeting, read the corporate filings out loud. The room went dead quiet. Meeting adjourned in a hurry. A day later, I get a letter from a law firm threatening to sue me for defamation. That's when I called my cousin Gloria, best attorney in the county, sharp as a tack and twice as mean. She drafted a response. You back off, pay for the barn repairs, and stop the harassment, or we sue you for trespass and damages. Oh, and we copied the state attorney general's office, just in case they were interested in some light white-collar crime. Things exploded from there. A local journalist caught wind. Front-page story: HOA tries to seize historic barn for private deal. Neighbors rallied around. Tailgate parties popped up on my lawn. Save the Red Chapel banners everywhere. The sheriff parked a deputy on my road just to keep the peace. Then, the real pain hit the HOA. State auditors found they'd funneled nearly $80,000 of HOA dues, money meant for landscaping and snow plowing, into Alder's company. The treasurer's husband owned the survey firm that got most of the contracts. Classic grift. The Attorney General dropped subpoenas. By sunrise, Alder had resigned for health reasons. The treasurer bailed next. Homeowners, furious about rising dues, voted in a reform slate and called in forensic accountants. Another $80,000 gone, unreported. The insurance company refused to cover the legal bills, said the policy didn't cover illegal acts. Meanwhile, Cousin Gloria filed a civil suit on my behalf: harassment, emotional distress, vandalism, trespass. The HOA bled cash. Alder and the treasurer faced felony charges for embezzlement. That winter, the whole neighborhood froze. Literally, because there was no money left for snow removal. Folks had to shovel themselves out. I lent my tractor to anyone who asked. I figured we'd all been burned enough. By spring, the settlement came down. HOA paid to refinish my barn floor. replaced the damaged doors, published a public apology in the local paper, and donated $20,000 to the volunteer fire department. And the kicker, a county covenant exempting my land forever from any HOA scheme unless I sign off, which I won't. Spoiler, Alder pleaded no contest, got restitution, 18 months in state prison. Treasurer was barred from any nonprofit board for life. The new board slammed the old one with a $150,000 penalty. Folks started a petition to dissolve the HOA altogether. Meanwhile, my barn shone brighter than ever, and at the next chili cook-off, the crowd cheered when the sheriff auctioned off those infamous neon sneakers Alder wore while trespassing. Martha bought 'em for $20, nailed them right above the barn door, a warning and a trophy. Some nights I sit up in that loft listening to the creek and the wind, and I think about all the things people try to take in the name of community. The HOA learned, the hard way, that you can't bulldoze deep roots, and you sure as hell can't strong-arm someone out of their own story. So if you ever drive by and see those neon sneakers hanging over the red chapel door, you'll know. This barn stands because enough people refuse to let bullies park wherever they please. And now I'll ask you, what would you do if they came for your home?